really good. It's always affected by many things.
Good to see it.
That's very
Well, good
nice.
morning, everybody.
Morning.
Look at that, right on the button.
Really?
Wow, right 10 o'clock exactly.
You
Goodness
changed your
gracious.
computer time to do that.
I didn't change my
Guess what,
computer.
there's two after over there.
Oh, no. We go,
You go with the the universal time.
that's exactly right. So welcome, everybody. Let's see who's online. I guess Ross. Okay, perfect. So let's get started here. Start recording. You did that. What else did you do?
Cecilia. Okay.
What's new in the world of EVs? Well, that's what we're going to find out. So today we are on a bit of a time crunch, which is good and bad. Our host here, John Palmerly. He's our host here. Thunderstruck Motors is our host, and John is our.
I'm hosting.
You're hosting, yes. And unfortunately, they've got he and Ellen have to take off at quarter to noon, so we need to be at least out of the building by quarter to noon. Yeah. So. We're going to kind of go press play a little quicker than we normally do. And by 10:30, Lauren Morris from NICE, who brought her Suzuki Samurai up, is going to talk. And she has more than 50 slides and promises that's not that's not to be a record. And then we'll hopefully have some time at the end at about 11:30, and then we'll punch out at, like I said, doors closed 11:45. So thank you for hosting us, John.
Yeah, Brian Hall is the owner of Thunderstruck, and he is happy to have us here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is for you, John.
So we've over the years we've just had a little trouble kind of keeping our timing in order, and this meeting is kind of a great time for us to start limiting some of our discussions till the end of the meeting. For instance, when we do introductions, usually there's our name and some kind of simple concept. And we'd ask that everyone just use that time to just say your name and the simple concept and not go into other topics. So. Good chair?
All right.
Oh, good.
We got a couple chairs there.
And so, I just want everyone to hear this. So when we do that, let's try to limit the introductions to a minute. That'll help everybody. Then we'll be through that really quickly. If there are other topics that you want to bring up, let's bring them up in the open discussion time rather than that's really good time. Also, with Lauren here, it's a great example of a time when we can give someone our full attention. And during her presentation and during slides that we also put out there unrelated, let's wait till the end of those things to ask questions. Or if there's a time when the presenter says, hey, here's a time for questions, then we can ask. So take notes or just remember in your head, rather than interrupting the presenter, so that the presenter can really keep their mind focused and we can get through it. I think it's just partly a respect thing. Let's just try to learn that as a group, and I think we'll have more fluent meetings. So that's the comment there.
Well said. Where's the bathroom, John?
The bathroom's right over there on the other pile of this, on the way in to the right. So in that corner, there's the bathroom. You're free to use that. And emergency exit where you came in right there. There's also an exit over here, but that's probably not very good for an emergency because there's stuff in the way. Lauren's car is parked out there, so we'll be able to see that after the meeting. All the equipment in here is in process, and some of it is dangerous with batteries and stuff, so please don't touch anything. And Mike Newell, of course, has purchased and brought donuts and coffee. So yeah, feel free to have that over here. And thanks, Mike. And welcome anyone who's new. Glad to have you here.
All right. Very good. So who are you and how do you get around? I'll start with you, John.
Okay. I'm John Palmerly. I am currently the vice president of this group, and I work here. So I tend to be the host when I'm available. And I get around with a converted Toyota pickup that my daughter Ellen and I converted in 2009. And it's my daily driver. Has a leaf motor in it. So that's pretty much it. Go ahead, Lauren. Here.
Lauren Morris. You're going to learn more about me and who I am, what I'm up to later. I drive and Suzuki Samurai has been converted using a Hyper 9 motor and 5 Tesla modules, and our other car is a Lightning.
Right, everybody, Mike Newell, we have two different Kia EVs.
Hello, Dan Kirby, I'm from Fort Bragg, just made it here.
All right.
We, in last November, because used EV prices were coming down so much, we were able to buy a Tesla Model Y last November, and we've been road tripping like crazy. I can't even believe people don't drive electric. It's so crazy. But I've been a member of this organization for a couple of years, and this is the first time I had the opportunity to make it to a meeting, so.
All right, very good.
This is fun.
Good.
Jack?
I'm Jack Christensen. I have a 23 Volt EUV, the last one off the lot. Up here.
All right, very good. Dan?
Well, yeah, on the left hand, I drive a 2024 Hyundai i5.
My name is Ellen. I drive a 2017 Chevy Bolt that I love.
My name is Lowell. I drive two cars. There's a Tesla Model S and the Nissan Leaf 2013 vintage. The Tesla is a 2014. And I've had it about 6 years now. And I just keep liking that car more and more. It is one hell of a wonderful car. There's nothing goes wrong with it. It just drives like a top end, but because of the vintage of this car, when I go on long trips, I have free
Yeah.
supercharging.
Old school.
Oh, yeah, 2014, that's when they were that was like the second or third year.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get it trying to move it. And so they were offering this deal. And
Yeah.
it goes with the car for life.
Wow.
I'm the second owner.
That's great. Great.
Nice. I'm Sonia. I drive a 2019 Tesla Model 3 and I pay for supercharging.
I'm very looking there. Sorry, I drive a Honda gas-powered engine, but that's not why I'm here.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm here to convert my railroad speeder car from gas to electric, and that's fun. I'm getting ready to buy one of your products. Just came up to see it.
All right, that's a future presentation, you know that, right?
It's cheap at this point.
That's right, that's right.
Hi, I'm Brad. I drive a 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid. It's got almost 200,000 miles. My particular interest in electric vehicles in the NBEAA is there's no used vehicle dealership in the entire North Bay region that specializes in electric vehicles. So that's kind of what I'm interested in.
Cool.
But
Thanks. We need him another chair, huh? Do you find one, Brad? Okay. Brian.
Hey, Bernie. Tor, why don't you go and then we'll go to Bernie.
I'm Tor. I ride a bike around town mostly, but also have a 2020 Bolt EV. Recently did a road trip up the Oregon coast, and put a hitch on it and did a dump run with it. Despite what the manufacturer said.
See picture.
Right, yeah.
UCSB ME right there, baby.
The say no thing.
All right, let's go online.
Bernie, did we get?
Oh, sorry, Bernie. Hey, Bernie.
Oh, we're just giving our.
What you drive and who you are.
Okay, I got a new Y and I love it. I'm a Tesla fan and not a Musk fan, but a Tesla fan.
All right.
Yeah,
Very good.
Very good.
Let's go online. David Heacock.
Yeah, I have I'm Dave Eacock. I have a 2007 Saturn Vue hybrid that I primarily drive. My backup is an electric 85 Avante.
Very good. Linda Robinette.
I am still driving my 2022 Chevy Bolt, and I'm glad to hear that Chevrolet is going to reintroduce the model.
Yeah, we have a slide on that today. Bruce Neiden from the north.
Bruce?
Former president Bruce Neiden.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just happened to be home or on island or whatever when a meeting came up and thought I'd drop in. I'm currently driving primarily three cars. One is Alan Soule's VIN number 101 Roadster, after many hair-pulling episodes with various people, experts that supposedly knew how to do maintenance, and Ford 2022 Lightning truck, which is a really good tool get around here. And I've leased a Nissan all-battery Aria, which I actually kind of like and might end up being my last electric car. We'll see. And then there's a couple other I hauled up from Thunderstruck 7 years ago, but I won't get into that. So.
Very good. Good to see you. Cecilia.
Hi, Cecilia. I'm also in Mendocino County. I still have a Model 3, and that's how I get around.
Ross Hoover, welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ross Huber. I'm actually up in Humboldt County, up in the Garberville area. I've done a handful of electric vehicle conversions, few in my shop, but I currently am not driving any of them. I got to save up for my own. So it's kind of a process, but it's nice to meet you guys. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Good to see you, Russ. Russ Wigglesworth.
Sorry, I gotta get off. I can't get your video on.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Russ.
Thanks, Russ. Lawrence.
Yeah, this is Lawrence down in Palo Alto. My girlfriend has a 2019 Chevy Bolt EV that I drive periodically and down to San Diego and back once a year. And I just want to make a plug for DC vehicle to grid with any vehicle that has DC fast charging. Hey, I've got a minute.
Yeah.
You can do it now, DIY. Okay. Anyways, I'm done then.
All right, very good. And let's see, did I miss anybody? Anybody come in that snuck in?
Did Russ get on it or not?
Russ, are you gonna try?
Not working.
All right, okay.
I'll list.
What are you driving, Russ?
A 2015 Soul EV that works great.
Very good. Cool. I'm Don Hulamard. Let's see. So I usually drive my bike around. I have a Red Rover 6, and my wife has an EV6. Okay, let's get back to the presentation mode here. If I can figure that out. Let's see. Just a few administrivia items.
Do the bat night.
Can you go on mute, Linda? The EVA is a chapter, or the NBEAA is a chapter of the EVA, and we advocate and educate for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles. So there's no chart on it, but I was so happy to see the end of year push with the federal tax incentives. That meant there was still this overriding amount of demand for what we're doing. So keep the faith. We're going to get back to where we should be at some point, but we'll get there. There are a couple of ways to get a hold of us. Some of you came in through nbea.org and some came in through Facebook. From an email perspective, we push out 3 emails a month from the NBEAA Club forum. And so make sure you accept that in your email junk filters, whatever. There's new ways to prevent you from getting emails from us. So just say yes to that one. All the videos that I think we've been recording these now for a few years now, at least, since I think right 5 years of all the videos are available. So if you want to go back to another video in the past, and there's some very good ones in there, you can go to YouTube and to have a look. And then we talked about NBEAA Club. There's a discuss group, which you have to opt into, and it's a little painful than we want it to be, I think. But if you want to opt into discussions about anything related to EVs, you can join in there. And then if you find a news item that you want to report on in a monthly meeting, send that into news@nbea.org. So a few things. Cecilia sent out last week that Mendocino College now has opened up an EV maintenance training center as part of their career technical education. And I met with, I went up there for the ribbon cutting. I met with the new lead there, Mike Pratt. solid as a rock human being. He actually said he started this process 4 years ago, within like a few months of being the new instructor up there, and that's how long it took to get all of the various bureaucracies administrative resolved. But it took him 4 years to get it done. They had the ribbon cutting last Friday. I'd say there was about 100 people there. Interest from throughout Menda County community. It was very good. Ribbon cutting was led by a member of the chamber. The president of the college was there. They spent over $100,000 in EV unique tools and infrastructure. It's a giant space. It's probably as big as probably as big as this space. Everything is painted white. All the EV stuff is orange, and then all the car stuff is just new Snap-on boxes. But there's a classroom center there. I spoke with Mike about our scholarship fund idea initially, so we're going to follow that discussion. Hopefully, we finally have at the junior college level, we finally have a local school where we can start our scholarship fund and hopefully get that going sometime next year. I want to get his inputs on who we should be rewarding there. So I thought it was really good. Well worth the drive.
You have room for a quick question?
Yep.
Do you know in their class syllabus curriculum if any of it is focused on maintenance repair of DC fast chargers? I see that as like a constant problem.
You are right. I don't.
If you get their ear, suggest it.
Yeah. That's a good point. We should talk to him about that.
Anyway,
yeah,
it's cool they got it going.
Yeah.
So I had also seen a little information come through about the College of Marin's Green Transit Apprentice Program. And this program is a little bit different. It's a partnership with Marin Transit and Canal Alliance and the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay to provide workforce education similar to the way they do construction workforce education at College Marin. So the orientation of it is very much around like creating both techs and drivers for electric and diesel buses. So they're really kind of focused on supplying that workforce that's needed at Marin Transit. It has funding from the California Department of Industrial Relations, and it's kind of obliquely tied to Federal Infrastructure Act funding because of the electric bus depot that they're building on Francisco Boulevard in San Rafael. I was glad to hear that they'd already purchased the land and done some of the improvements, but the graphic on the right-hand side kind of suggests that really the big kind of design and construction is really yet to occur at that location. And right now they use 3 smaller yards and a couple of partners to keep their buses running. So their goal is to train this workforce, build this yard, and have in-house techs to maintain their buses and stuff like that, and have a little bit more control, kind of soup to nuts, I would assume. So hopefully everything kind of moves forward in terms of federal funding and their process there. There wasn't any information about Jeopardy. That was my inference, not anything that was reported. But I thought that we could kind of keep an eye on this. It's not quite as pure of a come learn a skill set,
right?
But it might be kind of similar. I don't know,
right?
To the Mendocino College one.
All right, cool. Something to keep watching over the next 6 months, kind of. Is that what you're thinking?
I would think so. Or, maybe we could an inquiry of some sort. And, certainly if anyone in the group hears something, let us know.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that it's got an apprentice partnership kind of thing going on, not just learning it and maybe get a job.
Yes.
It's a job connection. So
yeah, that's cool.
A good model.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see a few things. There's always the shameless plug for the EVA. So I've been attending that the EVA has started to have monthly leadership meetings. I think I go to about every other one. I was going to all of them at the beginning. I don't know if you still go, Dan, every month, but a lot of it seems like it's the same stuff every month. So I've been going every other month because I don't feel like I'm going to miss anything. So anyway, they've opened up an EVA store. So this is for EVA branded items, and they've got shirts and hats and water bottles and all sorts of things. It's different than our branding. It's the classic EVA branding, not the North Bay EAA branding. Anyway, if you're interested, take a look at that. And then they are really pushing this Consumer Reports Insights panel to do EV community research. They've got 53 members have signed up, and they want to increase the membership to provide feedback on public charging infrastructure. It's really it's a big push. To your point, Tor, this is how you do it. You tell giant national organizations like Consumer Reports what's the actual state of play on the charging networks today, and then Consumer Reports with their big lever will be able to have much broader distribution than some of the other smaller players on the state of play in EV charging.
Dominic, can I mention real quick?
Yeah.
I signed up, and it takes a few days for them to approve you, and there's an app associated to it, and
Okay.
the app looks empty until they approve you. So
I
there's
got you.
workflow in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To give input.
Yeah, to
Sign
be
up
part
to
of the
give input.
community. They approve you to be part of the community, and then you start seeing the information in the app. So just give it a few days.
No, it just added, like driving around Sebastopol, like you see these cars at the public stations, and I want to talk to those people because it's your only charging station. Have a laundry list of questions, and I almost don't think this will capture the local level kind of information that I would want to know.
Yeah.
But it's another bigger level, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think it's a way to watch the larger. There are
prizes.
There's prizes though.
Changes everything.
So that changes everything. So Sonia, I think you're our first person to sign up, but they know who we are. So if we sign up, we can get prizes for the top three. So $500 for the first group, $250 for the second, and $125. And money is always a good thing. So if we can get some more folks signing up to this, that'd be great.
Dominic, do we know how many NBEAA members are also members of the EVA?
Oh, if you're a member, you're a member.
Oh, okay.
We are a chapter of the EVA.
Okay, so this is not signing up with the EVA. This is signing up with
Consumer Reports. That's right. That's right. Okay, I think this is probably the last one of these. Who did this one?
I did it. So this slide was just to try to capture a little bit of the movement that's happening after September 30 in terms of pricing reductions and strategies that certain manufacturers are taking to sell their cars. And I thought that possibly you were going to build the Chevy Equinox slides as well. I'm sure this Chevy Equinox was the first car to kind of be in that lower price range. And now we're looking at the Hyundai Ioniq 5 for 2026 has a standard range for $35,000. And then Tesla just announced a changed Model 3 and Model Y, that has fewer features. Things like no heat in your back seats, fabric over the glass. I call it like the fabric editions. I don't know. Cecilia probably has some other ideas about what's missing out of there. So the Model 3 and Model Y prices have gone down. And then the Nissan Leaf was already standing at $29,990. And this is the 2026 that has the liquid cooling on the battery and everything. And so I think, we have to kind of start to give it the attention it deserves. And then the Chevy Equinox, and I think there's probably more to come. So this is just a little bit of an interim thing. The screenshot is actually the looming BYD that is out there to be built in the US. I think is going to come in at a super low price if they ever figure out US-China relationship wise to get a BYD into the US, you're gonna see a really low price.
And I think the other strategy Tesla was saying, like looking at an all metal roof instead of glass roof to lower the cost.
The new one is glass.
But
The roof is
cheaper
glass, but
one-
they painted the cheaper one, yeah, but they're painting it. And then they put a headliner inside the car.
Piece of fabric on.
It was cheaper because of the supply stream they have. It was less expensive to use the glass rather than to switch to metal.
Oh my God.
It was
But
less
it does
expensive.
have fabric seats. So for the very first time, they're putting some fabric into the seats. And, you know, if you show up at the dealership and buy your $35,000 car, you might find that it has some of the legacy features instead, because that's what happened to me in 2019. You know, it's like, it was cheaper to just give you all the items that are in the other car.
Okay.
Can I ask one other quick question?
Sure.
Are these prices based on if you lease the vehicle or is it for
Just a little.
This is just purchase pricing.
Oh, because I've seen some dealerships that are reducing it if you lease by 7,500 or something like that.
Yeah, and I think you're bringing up like the Kia was offering like, you know, for sales and for leases, they were offering you some money off. And this is none of the dealership level kind of reductions. These are the actual, you know, pricing changes that have occurred since September 30th. So.
I think whether you
Yeah.
buy or sell, the starting point is saying buy or lease. And then the lease thing is like marks down. It's different price.
Okay, so I put this slide together. As a longtime Bolt driver and lover, I was very excited on Wednesday to hear about the new Bolt. It's the 2027 Bolt. And I'm just going to go over a few cool features about it. It will come with the NACS port, and it's Chevy's very first, you know, fully integrated NACS vehicle. It has 255 miles range. There are these two models. So, you know, as we know, there used to be the EV and the EUV. Now they're having the LT and the RS, very similar to the Equinox EV. But these two models will be based on the EUV actually. So it is the slightly larger Bolt size. The cool thing is that it's 150 kilowatt max charging rate, which as Bolt owners, we know that's a big improvement from the 50 kilowatt max rate. It's a 65 kilowatt hour LFP battery. It says it's V2H capable, and unfortunately no Apple CarPlay anymore, similar to the Equinox EV, but it will have the Google Maps. And it said it's coming, I think I saw one article that said either January or February. Dealerships will start selling them, but to be seen. And those are the colors there in the bottom right. I particularly like the kind of aqua blue color. And I think the red one is called a habanero red or something. It's kind of an orangey red. Anyway, some fun colors. But, yeah.
Do you know if it has a NACS port, does that mean it'll have access to all the Tesla chargers? You know, there's some restrictions on that.
Great question. I don't know.
I think some Tesla chargers are not NACS ready, but maybe Cecilia can help us with that.
Yeah, the like older superchargers don't support CCS, which is the communication standard that they'll use.
Okay, so then by theory, this would have access to all the superchargers. That's the NACS.
Wow.
I hope so. Yeah. Great question.
Bernie had a comment.
Well, only that, you know, I pulled a supercharger and there's this strange car there. It's turned sideways so that you get close enough to the chargers for that short handle to reach. And it's turned sideways, so it's taking up two slots.
Awesome.
And the only two slots left, and I was going to take it.
Yeah. How to be that guy.
And so, you know, we talked a little bit. He's a nice guy. Of course. Anybody wants to be.
The last thing I'll mention is it does look like I'm trying to see in the picture. I think the charging port is on the right-hand side, which the current Bolt has it on the left-hand side. So I think that means it'll be good for Tesla charging.
Yeah.
Yes, back and fully and forward.
Oh, it's on the left-hand side.
The nose in.
thing.
Right.
Well, you can
That's
mention.
that's good if he knows in, yeah.
Knows it.
You'll be okay.
All right. Very good. Let's get over to,
They just put it back.
Oh,
yeah.
All righty.
Can we do,
Go now.
can I click into presentation?
Yeah.
So I have my notes.
Yeah.
And I'll bring my chair around here.
Oh, you want this?
Okay, cool.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for having me. So today I'm going to share a little bit about my story, this company that I've been working on building, the conversions that I've done outside. Later, we'll see the 87 Suzuki Samurai that's been converted. But I'm going to start with a little bit of context about myself because I feel like that's always really helpful for storytelling and understanding, how this all kind of comes together. I was born and raised abroad in Southeast Asia. Existing in these different cultures gave me a real good gift of perspective, and showed me that the world is full of expansive possibilities, and that everything was impossible once, and you only have to just build towards it, to bring things into fruition. I have this photo of space camp. I was 10 years old. I was born in 1883, so this is early 90s. And I mention that because it was around that age that I realized that I wanted to be a part of building the future and technology in some way. In college, and even as a kid, I had a deep admiration for explorers, adventurers, inventors, everyone from MC Escher and Buckminster Fuller to an Inspector Gadget, and MacGyver. And I discovered industrial design in high school. And industrial design is the design of mass-produced consumer objects. And in college, I spent hours in the design studio building physical prototypes in workshops like this, learning how to use different tools, digital and analog, to express ideas, develop a knack for creating compelling consumer product ideas, and how to tell stories about them. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Design in the early 2000s. So trained as an industrial designer, I have designed and developed consumer hardware. So I worked in consumer hardware technology for almost 20 years. So that means that I've worked alongside mechanical engineers, electrical engineers my whole career building hardware devices. So industrial designers are responsible for the design and interaction of objects like this computer mouse or your phone that you have in your pocket or this laptop or the chairs you're sitting in. So we design and develop consumer goods that are mass produced. So I spent a lot of time in factories in China and here domestically, and I've seen what it takes to manufacture things at scale. And I've always had a love for vehicles. I think every industrial designer at some point in their career aspires to be a car designer. That's sort of the holy grail of being an industrial designer, is being an automotive designer. And so my version of that was just this joy of old vehicles, the beauty of old vehicles. And so that Wagoneer, that was in '89, and the 75 Datsun 280Z were a couple of my daily drivers in Los Angeles for many years. But the more time I spent designing mass-produced consumer goods, the more waste that I saw. So this is a photo of a Bed Bath & Beyond, which I think that store represents everything that I'd grown disillusioned with, which is just piles of products that we don't really need that are headed for landfills, really. And I was really deeply uncomfortable with this and the role that design was playing in overconsumption. And we've seen the impact of overconsumption across different product sectors. So you might have heard of Javon's paradox. It's an economic principle that suggests that increases of efficiency through technology and improvements and innovation can actually lead to an increase in consumption. So that offsets the gains that are made by the efficiency improvements. And so, for example, in 1975, smaller sedans and wagons represented the majority of sales in the automotive market, but have since dropped from 75% to just 25%. And the majority of sales now are these giant vehicles. And I know the irony here is that my family owns a Samurai and a Lightning. So it's the largest and the smallest vehicles that are on this slide. But I just think that that's something that was really interesting and notable to me as I was reflecting on all of this. And this is a really cool website. Gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but it allows you to overlay two vehicles exactly to scale, so you can see the differences in sizes. So pretty remarkable how tiny that Suzuki Samurai is compared to that Escalade. So since the Industrial Revolution, we humans have gotten very good at extracting materials from the earth, making them into things we want and need, and we convinced ourselves that we could just throw things away when they were no longer needed. They broke, or they fell out of fashion, or they didn't suit us anymore, and we really didn't worry about the consequences. And so this model, you know, there are pros and cons. It raised the living standards for many people. It enabled billions of people to have not just luxury or indulgent things, but medicines, a roof over our heads, warm clothes, communication technology, transportation. But I have recognized more and more in my career, having a little bit of a peek behind the curtain as to how things are made and how decisions are made about mass production. Myself, and I feel like more everyday people that aren't behind that curtain are understanding more and more that resources are finite, and that if we continue to do this, we really can't run from the consequences anymore. And so I started studying the circular economy. Circular economy, if you're not familiar, is where products and materials are kept in circulation through processing, through processes like maintenance, reuse, refurbishment, recycling, composting. And so composting obviously is only for biological materials that can go back to the earth. And then technical materials are those that won't biodegrade. So metals, plastics, devices that are manufactured. All of those things, whether biological or technical, are valuable and should be recovered and continuously cycle through the system so that value can be captured and recaptured. And so the goal of circularity is to keep things in use and as close to their original form factor for as long as possible. And breaking them down to their raw materials and recycling should be considered an absolute last resort. In the middle of the 20th century, Buckminster Fuller, Victor Papanek, folks in the design space started raising awareness of aspects of sustainability in the design professions. And then towards, you know, as years passed, the notion of sustainability had become more mainstream. So Fuller is probably most well known for his geodesic dome, but he was also one of the first designers to promote a systemic worldview. And that term spaceship Earth encapsulated the concern that the Earth's resources are finite and limited and must be managed wisely. And so if companies want to continue making value, if people want to continue to consume, regeneration or circularity is, to me, clearly the path forward. And countering overconsumption and reducing global emissions is possible. We just have to act quickly, as you can probably imagine. And if you haven't heard of Project Drawdown, really interesting project, the director on fully emphasized that solutions to slowing emissions and sort of the emergency brakes that we need to put on, they don't need to be broad or expensive, complicated, blue sky, crazy, futuristic ideas. Solutions can and actually really should be just small, targeted, and ready to go. So it struck me that the electric vehicle conversion of gas-powered vehicles fits squarely in that category of granular, targeted, ready to go. In this example, this is a kit made by Felton in the UK. You can see all of the electric components for this Mini Cooper laid out on the ground, ready to be installed in the vehicle. The issue with conversion is that they're really either very expensive or very time-consuming, or both. So when I started NICE is an acronym for No Internal Combustion Engine. I set out to explore what it would take to scale the conversion of cars from gas to electric. And converting identical vehicles in fleets or in batches seemed like a great place to start. So we imagined a network of shops all over the place, following the same protocols, using the same ingredients or parts or recipes, as we call them, similar to a drive-up style of Valvoline or Jiffy Lube, was sort of the vision for the future. It wouldn't be a 15-minute oil change, but it would be, you know, maybe a couple days or a week for known vehicles where there's a kit and a recipe ready to go. So we envisioned a future in which those kits, recipes would be able to convert the most common older vehicles, would be available, and cars could be rebranded so that it would be clear that they were electric. So this was the idea with the brand of NICE, is that you could rebrand every car and almost have a remanufactured brand. Nice Volvo, nice Suzuki, nice Toyota, nice Jeep. Every time you drive an old car around, you get the thumbs up in the nice car. So I had to do it.
Nice car.
Yeah. And so as we spoke with people more and more, we realized that many had never even heard of EV conversion and didn't realize that their existing vehicle could actually be a good candidate for conversion as opposed to buying a new EV. And so the bottom line is that remanufacturing vehicles and salvaging functional components that still function, which is sort of, I feel like the majority of old things, take advantage of the embodied carbon and the value that's inherent in those existing objects. And then converting a used vehicle to electric, we did some research and life cycle analysis, and we believe that converting a gas powered vehicle to electric results in up to 90% less CO2 emitted versus manufacturing a new EV from scratch. And you still end up with an EV at the end of it. So Sarah Lyon is our mechanic and the hands and the brain behind the work in our shop. She executed two Suzuki Samurai conversions. When I go through this deck, I'm going to start clicking through quickly and show you the behind the scenes messy how these came to be. I am not a mechanic. I am a technical thinker and I can partner with engineers, but I may ask John to help me with some of the explanations of what the components do if anyone has specific questions, and I'll do my best. But Sarah's an incredible automotive mechanic, high voltage technician, and also an artist and photographer, multi-hyphenate. Both Sarah and I took classes at EV West's EVLC in the San Diego area. We both took the EV 101 course. That's Michael Bream up there in the middle center. Terry Brenny is right next to him, the red hair. Terry has this great conference every year in Denver called the State of Charge, which you also should check out, especially anyone considering EV conversion. I highly recommend going to that conference or plugging in with that community. Terry's a really nice guy, and he's brought together a lot of great people. So I was lucky that he was in my class, so I got to know him. That's me on the left. I was the only woman. Sarah was the only woman in hers. So we set out to build the first nice test vehicle, which was the 1987 Suzuki Samurai you'll see outside in a moment. It's a very lightweight car, 2,000 pounds. It has a cult following. There's a lot of them still on the road in decent shape. It's full of personality, and I knew that it would stand out compared to other EVs. So we set up shop in Joshua Tree, which is where Sarah is based in Southern California. I was in LA until about 9 months ago. My family and I just moved up here to Marin. And I visited about once a month and much more often towards the end. All right, so planning for the project. This was sort of phase one. Which vehicle should we convert and why? Where should we set up shop? What tools and equipment do we need? What are the goals of the project? What range do I want? What performance do I want? So these were all things that kind of went into the very, very early stages of this project. Again, the Samurai was picked for a number of reasons. We were looking for a vehicle that many were still on the road. It's lightweight, fairly simple conversion with a Hyper 9 motor. Hyper 9 paired with Tesla modules is a really pretty basic EV conversion project. We didn't want to start with a 400-volt system and use a Leaf motor or a Tesla motor. We wanted to start with something lower voltage. And so first thing, pull out the engine. So there's the engine getting pulled. We did some cleanup. This one looks like it had been like submerged in a sandy lake or something. I don't know. It was very dirty. So we got that all cleaned up pretty nicely. And then it was, once we decided the goals of the project, we started ordering parts. So a lot of the parts we ordered from Legacy EV out of Arizona. A lot of the parts in the project are made by Thunderstruck. So it's really cool to be here in full circle because a lot of the components were developed here. And parts came kind of in phases, and there was a lot of studying the wiring diagram, and removing the guts of the ICE powertrain. There's along with the State of Charge conference that Terry Brenny has created, there's another person in the community that's good to know. His name is Ron Grostinger. He has a YouTube channel called Mr. G's Podcast. He goes by Mr. G because he's actually a high school shop teacher. And he's based in New Jersey, in the New York area. And so Sarah would join those weekly calls with Mr. G. And if you go back on that YouTube, you'll see there's an episode where she kind of walks Ron through the project at that time. So here's basically the EV powertrain minus the batteries and the motor laid out on a table. So basically, the overview of it is we have this low voltage 100 volt Hyper 9 motor, and 5 Tesla Model S modules. So the pack is only about 26.5 kilowatt hours. Again, it's a 2,000-pound car. I made it here from Marin to Santa Rosa. Although I just plugged in and my state of charge meter jumped up. So I'm actually not sure what state of charge I'm at right now. Something I need to troubleshoot.
Okay.
And we have a Thunderstruck motor control unit, ground fault monitor, battery, Hawkeye battery watchdog, and 2 chargers. We did the 2 chargers because I wanted to sort of speed up the level 1 charging, level 1 and level 2 charging. So all said and done, from like 0 to 100, I can charge 0 to 100%. I can charge my car in about 5 hours on a level 2 charger. It's not too bad.
Do you want us to ask questions per slide or hold them all?
Maybe hold them to the end and then I will get to them. So try to remember something about the components maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's Sarah with our Hyper 9 wiring diagram. And I think this was from Legacy EV. And we actually went through a couple different iterations of the wiring diagram. And it's a lot of studying, color coding, making sure you understand what's going where. Lots of notation. And this was when she was first testing our modules, deciding which ones should, how they should sort of be paired in what order. And in addition to the, wiring the system, this was the table that what we learned at EV West was really helpful, which is that when you're doing an EV conversion, you want to make sure the system talks to itself and works and functions outside the car. So basically you set it up on a table, get the motor spinning, and then get it in the car, because then that will introduce a whole new set of factors that you can at least isolate to, oh, now something's going on with the wiring in the vehicle versus something's wrong with the component. So that's why you build it out on the table first. There is a video in here, but it looks like it's, let me see. No, it didn't, but that's okay. So in the video that is supposed to be on the right side here, it just shows, oh, there, it's coming. This was the moment that Sarah got the motor spinning. So
I don't see you whine.
I know, right? We didn't want liquids out, but yeah. She was on Legacy EV has customer support, and so we were on the phone with JJ. He was what you can't hear there is he's actually on the call right here, walking us through some programming. All right. So like I mentioned, Sarah would join Mr. G's, Ron Grossener's YouTube podcast every week, and this is just a screenshot of that week. It looks like I don't have the date here, but it was gosh, this would have been winter 23 to 24. So maybe January, February of that, 2024. All right, so the next phase was obviously planning, space planning. A lot of this is you're working with the space left in the vehicle. With the Samurai, that's pretty challenging. It's very tiny. But the good thing is that the engine that was in the engine bay was huge, and the Hyper 9 is very petite. The challenge then is that the weight of the fuel tank full is much lighter weight and smaller than the weight and size of the 5 Tesla modules. But since they're modular, you can put like 2 here and 3 there, and so that's what we did.
Slow down and say that again.
So when you do an EV conversion, you have to think about what was the original curb weight of the car and the gross vehicle weight rating, meaning what weight could it handle and what weight was it. And then when you pull all the engine and the fuel tank out and anything that was heavy, and then you replace it with an electric motor and batteries, you want the weight to be very identical, similar or identical.
In terms of amount or distribution or both?
Physical, like the weight, just the weight. So that, and then the weight distribution is also important because you need to make sure you don't stress the chassis of the vehicle. And so you want the weight as low and centered as possible, and you want it distributed. And so that was actually one of the advantages of using Tesla modules, is they are modular, about the length of this table and about this wide and just a couple inches thick. And you can distribute the weight pretty easily using those modules. But anyhow, the point of this phase, just telling you the story, is that we spent a lot of time designing brackets, and sketching on photos, like where are we going to put everything in the engine bay? So this was pretty early on, imagining where we might. This was actually Sarah and I had a conversation, decided where we were going to put things, and this was me recalling my conversation with Sarah, sketching it out for her, and then I texted her this. So I said, "Great, do this." We actually ended up not putting battery modules in the engine bay, so this turned out to be not what we did. But this was the first plan that we had. So the blue rectangle was the two modules we were thinking we would put in here. We ended up not doing that in this car. In our second one, we did. Here I am. You can't tell here, but I'm pretty pregnant. I also happen to have a baby in the middle of all this. So that was notable. But here in a sketch in the top left here, we're talking about this little note here says overall front plus 75 pounds, overall back plus 100. This ended up being not what we did, but here I was sort of taking notes on how much weight we're adding or subtracting from the front or the back. And then, yeah, just sketching things out a little bit. This is a joke probably many of you have heard, but I'll tell it anyway. In engineering, you use computer-aided design, which is CAD, but we use a different kind of CAD, which is cardboard-aided design. It's very precise. But it's a really great way to represent volume and form. And so here we are looking at how well those modules would fit in the front engine bay. And then similarly, we actually used cardboard mock-ups for all of the components in the vehicle. So here we are imagining that the photo on the left is very distorted because you have to like zoom out to get the whole car, but this is under the car while it's on the lift, trying to imagine where the battery boxes could fit. This was actually not where we ended up putting it. This was all R&D. This is where we ended up putting two of the modules. So decided to take out the back seat. In our second Samurai that we converted, we left the back seat in. We were able to figure out a better way. And we got more batteries in the second one. Definitely made an improvement on the second. This was our first vehicle. So here's the motor mount for that Hyper 9 motor. Sarah Well did that. So a lot of the EV conversion game is, puzzling it together like puzzle pieces and then manufacturing or fabricating mounts and brackets to safely and securely mount these components into the existing space that you have. So some more of the mounts and brackets, some of them we painted black so it looked a little sharper. And here's should be a video loading on this page too. Let's see. And this is the motor going in. So if you recall that other slide, that giant, messy looking engine, here's the neat and tidy little Hyper 9 motor going into the engine bay. See if it loads. There we go. She's actually lifting it up, but I missed the moment when she was putting it down. This was just a quick fit check. So you can see there that red plate that it's mounted to is the adapter plate. That was produced by EV West in San Diego. Another company in Canada makes those. They're also pretty easy to fabricate, but it basically allows you to mount this electric motor directly to the manual transmission. So I can shift in my electric car, which is kind of cool. And I can also drive it like an automatic, which I prefer. This is the rear battery box. This holds 3 of the Tesla modules. A company called Amp-Revolt makes this. It's a modular battery box. It's great. You can stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time, just with modular plates. So this was close to the final layout, not the final, but close. Again, getting closer. And then installation. So we decided we wanted to show the car at the State of Charge in July and at Electrify Expo, which was also happening in Denver that same weekend. And so suddenly it was crunch time. So did a lot more formal like project management, started having daily meetings to keep us on schedule. Sarah's friend, who's a blacksmith and metal fabricator named Brett, joined us to sort of help with all that work so that Sarah could focus on the high voltage system. And he happened to have also worked in a vehicle wrap shop for a while. And I was exploring painting versus wrapping and decided to go with the wrap, and I was really happy with it. So the car that you see outside, it's wrapped. So he did that too, gave the car some new upholstery, new carpet, etc. Here's one of the junction boxes that Sarah put together. There's the Thunderstruck motor component there. I'm gonna kind of zoom through this. There's Brett doing some welding. And things are really starting to come together here. This is an EV West battery box mounted in the back where the back seat was. Final punch list, getting the battery box up in the back. Punch list. Here's us. Here's Brett doing the wrap. Looks crazy here, but it turned out beautifully. We even ordered some new pinstriping. A lot of people on Etsy even create custom pinstriping, and it was really easy to apply and made the car look brand new. And there's our charging port, level 2, J1772. And then, you know, you have like a ship. You have to. We didn't crash a champagne bottle on the side, but gave it a name. Put the badge on there. Nice Suzuki. And then there it was. Finished or close to finished. And here's the maiden voyages, and we won best SUV at the Electrify Expo in July 2024, and we beat out like a Tesla and a Porsche, and it's pretty cool for that SUV category. So that was like the vehicle moving for the first time. Obviously the door's shut, so we moved it a few feet, and then actually there's no seats in it, so you can see Sarah's because the chair is not even in there yet. And then like this one playing. This one was, I think, our first spin together, like around the block.
This time with seats.
This time with seats, yeah. And you can see it's Joshua Tree. I was like, we're going, whatever, 50 miles an hour. Whoa, it's working. And silent, not stinky anymore. And so I'll kind of bring this home now. How are we doing on time?
You're good.
Great. So towards the end of that first Samurai conversion, NICE as a company was accepted into the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, LACI, also known as LACI. And this is the LACI campus in downtown Los Angeles, where we did some R&D and received mentorship and access to funding for a pilot. And so while it looks identical, this is actually a second Samurai. This one is a 1988 owned by our customer, NBEAA. You might have seen this one if you went to the Future Fest in Petaluma after it had its wrap job. So it's now teal. My vehicle is the one on the right. Well, sorry, no. This one is hers. Mine is in the background here on the very, very right. Hers is there on the left with its engine being pulled. So again, first step, pull out the ICE components. Engine being pulled on the left. In the middle are the fuel tank, fuel lines, exhaust. And then on the right is the electric motor going in for a fitment check. Along with reducing labor hours, we aimed to replicate sub-assemblies and fabricated mounts. So on the left, you see Sarah welding cradles for the battery module boxes. And then on the right is how we planned for the electric vacuum pump for the brake booster using our cardboard mock-up. And then the final mount that was designed after the cardboard mock-up. So getting a little more sophisticated with their processes, but still using some cardboard. It just really works. The interior surfaces of an engine bay of an older vehicle, or really any vehicle, are not uniform or flat. So it's not as if we can simply bolt things to the inside of a cube. We need to create mounting plates that we can bolt securely into the bay that we then bolt components to. So this is a mock-up and the final mounting plate located at the rear of NBEAA's engine bay, which her 2 chargers are mounted to. So the 2 chargers are there with the green arrow pointing at them. And physically fitting and mounting everything is one thing, but then the wiring of the system is an entirely different animal. The 12-volt system and the wire harness is largely left intact in the vehicle, but there's a new high voltage system that has to be integrated into the layout of the vehicle. The wiring diagram on the left is this second major iteration that we had and color-coded. And then some of the more physically grueling work in a conversion is actually not lifting heavy components into place. It's this very tedious and painful work of hand crimping all the wires and connectors. Your hand really starts to hurt doing all of those connections. And then on the right is the completed contactor box next to one of the main battery boxes. So here you kind of get a hint that, and this is the engine bay of NBEAA's car, we did put modules in her engine bay. My vehicle is a 26.1 kilowatt hour pack. Hers is a 37 point. Oh, mine's 26.5. Hers is 37.1. And she gets about 100, 120 miles range. I get about 80 or so.
So 2 battery packs with 2 different capacities in the same vehicle?
No, 2 different vehicles. I'll drive that point home in a little bit when you see the photos of it. This actually is a good place to show you. So this is this is the maiden voyage of Mia's car in the parking lot there at the shop in Joshua Tree. It works.
It's alive.
Yeah.
With the wrap on it.
This was actually, I loved the way it looked, but Mia was really, really interested in having a turquoise vehicle to match her other old vehicle. They're both two-tone now, so white top and turquoise body. I'll show you some photos of that shortly. But yeah, the cute little 80s pink graphics ended up getting removed and wrapped over. So we had a great time showing both vehicles together from Southern California to Northern California this spring. So they are side by side. And the idea was to drive home this point that to scale EV conversion, doing them in batches of identical vehicles helps to reduce the cost and speed up the time. And actually with our second conversion, we did it in half the time. Okay. And I imagine if we would do it again, it would be half the time again. You just, and then you don't have to re-engineer every time. We actually totally re-engineered the second one. We sort of broke our rule. And it was because we realized that mine was only getting 80 miles range, and we needed to reach 100. And if you look at the rebates that Newsom rejected, there was a EV conversion rebate on the docket, SB 301, I think it was, that he vetoed a couple of years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. It would have provided an incentive, just like for a new EV. I think it was going to be $4,500 towards an EV conversion, and it was nixed. But one of the stipulations in there was that the vehicle needed to have 100-mile range. So that was always my goal, was it has to have 100. And so that's why we re-engineered Mia's vehicle and gave it 2 additional battery modules. So hers has 7. Her vehicle, I'll go back to this slide real quick, has 3 in the front here, and then another 3 underneath the vehicle, 2 together and 1 on its own. So 3 locations. My vehicle has no batteries in the engine bay, the one that you're going to see outside today. So it looks really cool when you open the engine bay. There's a lot of space. You can see the motor very easily. It's not blocked by anything, but it only has 5 modules, and 3 of them are where the back seat was. So it's just a 2-seater, whereas hers is a 4-seater with a longer range. It's definitely an improvement. Here, I'm going to sort of transition to the next phase of the business. So after we show those vehicles, we kind of paused and reflected on our experience and what we learned. And here I'm trying to build a business and not just have a fun research project. And I'm trying to go back to my experience, which is great. Now let's take this complex thing and start replicating it and make it into a consumer accessible system or product. And so naturally, I had gone without a salary. It's been 3 years, and it's hard. And I had been fundraising, and in the process of fundraising, found that most investors see this as a hobbyist space, and they are doubtful that it will ever not be a hobbyist space. And I just constantly am challenging that and trying to push thinking out of that. But that is just the reality right now.
It's tens, not thousands, is
Right.
what you get back. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the cost of it. So, we did 2 conversions. We bought parts in groups of 1. And so we have no purchasing power. But imagine if you're purchasing, 100 packs of Tesla modules at once, or 100 Hyper 9 motors, or 100 Leaf motors, and thousands of components, and, stocking a large warehouse. And, imagine these franchised out Jiffy Lube style service facilities that are executing the conversions and doing them quickly. I really believe there's potential for that. But as we reflected more on that and continue to tell that story, I realized that our experience in buying reclaimed Tesla modules was actually very challenging. It was really hard to find a reputable source for second life components from retired EVs. So for the gentleman who drives, I think it's the 2014, what are the model years of your car? Model S and the 20, yeah. So a lot of those are now in salvage lots or retired. And those are actually really great batteries to harvest. It's great that they're still in the original vehicle. That's the number one goal. Back to the circularity principles, you want to keep things in use for as long as possible. But if for some reason they end up in an accident and get totaled out by the insurance company, they end up often getting shredded, those batteries. And many EVs end up in rec yards with perfectly functional batteries. And a lot of times they'll have 80% state of health remaining. State of health is the overall like lifetime capacity of the pack. And if a battery pack has 85% state of health, it can go back into a car. It's like, it has lots of life to give. If it's 50% to 80%, it has a couple decades of life to give in other uses. You know, you can use these batteries as backup energy storage. Anyway, so the point of all of this is that the wave of retiring EVs is coming. We're seeing it here first in California, maybe even here in the Northern California area, because this is where these have been adopted more readily over the last decade and a half. And there's still no streamlined infrastructure to recover and resell high value EV components at scale. The automotive salvage industry, it's built for ICE vehicles. They're really good at breaking down ICE cars. They're not used to having fuel left to deal with, which is the battery, you know? They're used to selling parts. And they're not used to sort of recertifying components, high voltage components in particular. And then battery reclamation, it's just been optimized for recycling rather than reuse. And that's great. But like I said, it's a very expensive process to break something down to its raw materials. And then you end up with what's called black mass. And then to produce new batteries from that, that's wonderful. That's great. But that should be the last resort, the last thing that you do in something's life. And so again, all ties back to circularity. I think that industry in general, not just automotive, needs to do a better job of increasing utilization of what already exists. And recycling should be a last resort. So on the outer edges of this circle, extension of life, reuse, reprocessing should come first. And so as I reflected on that, that's what we've been doing this whole time with these vehicles. Old cars, new tricks was always what we said. Another way to look at that is these older EVs that are retiring, they have a lot of tricks left inside of them. The batteries have a lot of life left. So we pivoted the business to no longer doing EV conversion, but first addressing this supply chain challenge. So we set out to define that missing infrastructure between EV retirement and second life use. So like I said, typically cars get disassembled and go straight to recycling. But here there's an opportunity for someone to come in and specialize in certifying the batteries and the high voltage components and giving them second life applications. I keep mentioning the Tesla Model S modules, and this is just a slide to help you all connect the dots. So it's sort of a case study. These batteries, these Model S batteries, like between 2012 and 2019, are modular. They've emerged as sort of a gold standard, a staple in both EV conversion and home solar energy applications, like full home backup, DIY. They're ideal for reuse because they're modular, they're easy to disassemble, and there's a really well-developed ecosystem, like Thunderstruck, and aftermarket community to support these models to be used in second life applications. And then not to mention the volume. So Model S in particular were manufactured in the largest volume. So there's just a lot of them, and they're uniform and they're known. And they're starting to age out. So they're a great example of how these assets could have second lives. So last slide here, last couple slides. Our business model is sort of a reverse factory model. So the idea would be that these regional processing hubs would be replicated in regional locations to process local streams of electric vehicles. And the aim is to source from salvage, leveraging technology and AI. We know exactly which components and which vehicles to target and what they're worth. So even bidding on these could even become automated. So acquiring vehicles from salvage, and then applying a diagnostics and certification protocol that is aligned with UL, SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency, and Battery Passport, which is a big deal in the EU, and it hasn't quite come here yet. Aligned with all of those requirements and regulations, we would make sure that the diagnostics is aligned with those so that they can then go on to a couple different use cases. One, like I mentioned, a couple of times, either whole home backup or even commercial and industrial scale battery energy storage systems is a great place for these EV packs to end up, even in their whole pack form, preferably in their whole pack form, but also potentially as modules. And this is, if you haven't heard of BESS systems, battery energy storage systems, it's basically like your Tesla Powerwall, but on a much larger scale. And they typically go in shipping containers, and it can power a whole shopping center or a neighborhood. And it's a great pair for solar and wind because it allows you to store that energy for when you need it. And then the second market is, of course, electric vehicle aftermarket. So that's EV conversion and even EV repair. And typically the form factors needed there are more modules, sometimes packs. And so we've been pitching this concept. We've been looking for partners in the automotive and energy sectors, pilot customers that need certified components, investors that understand the circular economy. We've started to shop around now our diagnostics protocol that we've defined. So we hired on a battery systems engineer. He was a former engineer at Stellantis and other companies developing electric vehicles. So we've started to sort of shop around that protocol, and we've started targeting auto dismantlers. So next week, I'm going to go to Birmingham, Alabama, to the Automotive Recyclers Association, and I'll meet with a lot of small auto recyclers, rec yards, really, to help them understand the potential and the need to get ready for the wave of EVs that's coming. And then, so I have here, my last slide, I have here a picture of both of the Samurais we completed. Here's Mia's after she did the wrap. We made sure it was an actual Samurai, Suzuki Samurai pattern and color, true to the mid to late 80s. So it wasn't some random color that we picked. And then her actually has a white top now, a white hard top. And so here's hers plugged in. There's me plugging mine in. I meant to put on here, her Instagram handle is Elec Trucking. It's spelled as you would imagine, Elec, E-L-E-C Trucking. Check her account out because she has a lot of really great content around being an EV driver and an ICE driver. She has an old ICE truck as well. And they're both two-tone, turquoise and white. And she's a great storyteller. She talks a lot about, she's able to bridge that gap between, gas driving truck drivers to being she works at Google X down in Mountain View. She works in climate tech, and she also drives this electric Samurai. So she's really great at sort of bridging the gap between the groups of people. And so we can go ahead and take a look whenever y'all are ready.
What was her name again?
Mia, her me, and then her username is Elec Trucking on Instagram.
Is this a good time for questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a couple.
Oh.
So you said her batteries, you added different batteries or more batteries?
Yes, she has 7.
Did you also solve the weight and balance challenge there, or is hers more?
Yeah, we were able to get the batteries, 4 of the half of them underneath the car. So yeah, and then she still has the seat in the back of her car. I'd say they're both balanced pretty well, both of the vehicles.
Okay.
And it was because we weren't able to fit all of the batteries in one spot. So that's actually the advantage of splitting them up into groupings. So we did that in both cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also did some cardboard-aided design.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an engineer.
Yeah.
It was the fastest way to visualize it. So it worked out really well.
Yeah.
On your business, are you planning to reuse the rolling stock in complete form with new batteries? Or, I mean, what is the vision for the rolling stock?
Of the retired vehicle?
Yeah, versus the batteries. Because most people focus on the batteries, not the rolling stock. There's 1,000 Leafs out there with no batteries because they're dead.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What happens to the old Leafs?
Yeah. So the strategy is that we partner with auto dismantlers, and I don't particularly want to build a used car parts business, but many of those businesses exist and do what they do very well. So the idea would be that we would partner with them for the dismantling process, leave them the rest of the vehicle, and actually what we've been planning on doing is refurbishing motors as well. and potentially much of the high voltage powertrain, as well as the batteries. And then they would break down and process the rest of the car for parts.
The normal process.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Are you trying to focus on dismantling older electric vehicles or on removing the internal combustion engine and other drivetrain components from ICE vehicles?
No, just retired EVs, and I use air quotes with the word retired because mostly it's salvage vehicles. Mostly it's vehicles that have ended up on a salvage lot, salvage title, cannot be re-registered without a lot of work, and they're very cheap. You can buy a salvage Tesla for between $5,000 and $12,000. It's average about $7,000.
You mentioned when you're talking about the modularity of the Tesla batteries, you mentioned the year 2019. Did they stop being modular in 2019?
Yeah, yeah. And 3 and Y also, their batteries are a little more difficult to repurpose.
They're still modules, though. They're just hard
Yeah,
to get out.
from my understanding, and feel free others to chime in. From my understanding, it's the form factor, and then it's also how hackable are they? How easily can you talk to the BMS system and engineer a solution for modules to be used separately as opposed to in the full pack?
When you talk about battery passport, are you referring to like silicon-based battery passport systems or some other?
Battery passport in the EU is a requirement around battery traceability. And so when I say that we are designing or have designed a protocol that's compliant with it, I mean everything from safe handling, storage, to documenting of provenance and history of where that battery came from, and having a database where we store that information and provide it to a customer.
Okay, I was thinking of Hyundai just came out with their battery passport system. That's a chip in each cell.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And monitors all kinds of things
That's
and
great.
tells you, yeah.
Cool.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. When we bought our used Tesla modules, there are good businesses out there. We just weren't able to get any information, like what's the state of health? Where did the car live its whole life? Was it in Arizona? Was it fast charged all the time? Or was it in a more moderate, temperate climate? That's important information, and it's not readily available with a lot of these parts.
So connecting to the circular economy, it
Mhm.
sounds like you're basically finding things that are just going away and trying to repurpose them and back into the economy, but not just, but I mean, it's more than that. But I guess the thing, I'm curious if you're influencing like how we design original vehicles now to plan for that end of life. Like to make it easier to dismantle and reuse as opposed to making them more difficult.
Yep. Yeah. I've reflected a lot on this philosophically. What's needed the most, and where's my personal interest and sweet spot? And of course, that's like something we all grapple with when we're choosing our careers and what we want to do all day. I think that more young designers need to be taught the principles of circularity in school from the very beginning, so that when they're thinking about designing something from scratch, that's just kind of a no-brainer to them. And then as far as new products, whether that's cars or any product, there are movements like the right to repair movement. The CEO of a company called iFixit, Kyle Wiens, it's IFIXIT. Follow him if you can on LinkedIn. He puts out a lot of great information about how things are going with the state of produced products in terms of their repairability and reuse and modularity. As we know, like a lot of devices are glued together. And so it just becomes garbage. You break it apart and then you damage something. So the right to repair movement and folks like Kyle Wiens and other leaders in the space are trying to advocate for businesses to think about this in advance. In France in 2015, planned obsolescence was outlawed. And there's a Renault, the car company in France, they have something that they've built called the Refactory, and they recall their cars and they disassemble them, and they actually use their retired batteries as energy storage to power their factory. And they're a great example, but I don't think planned obsolescence is going to be outlawed in many places with current, with like the way that it's going. So, but I think that's a really interesting idea. And then, so education's been a big piece of it for me. And then encouraging more people to reuse, and we're members of the Reuse Alliance, up here in the Sonoma area, or Sonoma Marin area.
They've got a reuse hub.
Yeah.
Later today.
Yeah. And then, yeah, anything new that's produced, I feel like companies have to start producing things in a way that assumes that it's going to need to be repaired later or upgraded or something.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, iFixit puts out some really good stuff on the blog and their website. And
Yeah.
So fantastic repair guides if you're ever trying to fix particularly small electronics.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
iFixit. Fantastic company.
Yeah. Yes.
I have I've got kept those cars for a long time. I've got a 50-year-old motorhome, GMC motorhome. I spend more time working on other parts of the vehicle, not the engine. And it's like, well, the Samurai is a great car to tow, especially because it's so light. But the other parts on there fail, the overhead, brakes, all those other things. So keeping it as an old car sometimes is not a great idea.
That's true. Yeah.
And the safety features. I mean, I bought some new cars because I'm 87 years old. I need all those safety features.
Yeah.
You don't get them in those cars.
Yeah. I agree with you. It is the doors of my Samurai are about this thick. From the whole thing. Yeah. It's tiny. And this is something I've thought a lot about too, is safety and how can we make sure that we're doing all of this in good conscience. As I was transitioning from this conversion business to this supply chain focus, I was thinking actually part of the impetus for that was realizing that I really need to focus on vehicles newer than, say, model year 2000 or 95 and newer. The challenge is they're heavier, they have onboard computers, so the electrical system is a little more complicated, and they're heavier, and often they're automatic transmission, so it just makes for a little bit more of a complicated conversion. But those are all problems that have to be solved if EV conversion is going to scale. Just because there's some market research we did, we looked at the number of registered vehicles in the US currently. Only 5%, so 1995 or older represents only 5% of cars. But if you bring that waterline up to 2010 and older, it represents 45% of registered cars on the road. So there's actually a lot of vehicles apparently between 95 and 2010. And then in theory, a lot of identical cars that could be recalled in batches and converted in batches. So all of that led me to realize that we can't have these little Hyper 9 motor's not going to cut it. We're going to need reclaimed Tesla powertrains, reclaimed Leaf powertrains. And that's where I realized, well, but that's all a mess. Who's collecting all that stuff and doing it properly? And so that was actually one of the main reasons why I shifted the focus. But and then the advantage of those newer cars is they're safer. They're not up to 2025 standards, but often there's airbags, and the airbags were required in the mid-90s. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. Oh, sorry, what's the time?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if there's any questions from the floor, I think at some point in the next couple of minutes, we want to go actually look at the vehicle, right? So maybe, John, if we get the big door open and we'll just go out that way. But is there any questions online? Anybody out there? I don't see any hands up, so keep going ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I would share information on some vehicle populations that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, the California Energy Commission has a website with DMV statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sonoma County has about 415,000 registered light-duty vehicles. Of those, I think it's like 15 or 20,000 EVs, plug-in electric.
BEV, yeah.
So it's a pretty small portion. I think there's something like 29.5 million registered light-duty vehicles in the state of California.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I never thought to look up the entire United States.
When we were in LA, actually, we found that 40% of registered vehicles so California has the largest number of registered vehicles in the US. And then 40% of those are in the LA metro area. So there's a really interesting opportunity there to recall vehicles or remanufacture. But then, the numbers are relatively small now, but our research has shown, and a number of reports that I've read show that like that wave is coming. So starting in 2030, that number is just going to increase 25, 30 fold each year, and there'll be hundreds of thousands of EVs.
Yeah. Any question online?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm a volunteer for Repair Cafe. And we used to recruit apprentices from the Stanford engineering programs, particularly product design and mechanical, electrical engineering, to encourage them to think about how to repair things, how to design for repairability, because many of them were going into design. And, I applaud you for bringing those same aspects to your work.
Thanks. Yeah,
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Lauren. I'm really inspired by the work that you do, and I love how you're bringing the circular economy model into your whole business practice. That's something I'm really interested in too, and I just love it. Very inspired by the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.
One more question, then we'll go outside. Evelyn?
All right, I'm very impressed by the whole idea as well, but I was curious, you're talking about more modern vehicles and their, complex, non-drive related electrical systems.
Mm-hmm.
Have you put any thought into something like a programmable CAN sort of, baking device? I don't know what to call it, but something that can send the messages that the other, like the body control module and other more computerized components are expecting, so that your power locks and your windows and other electronically controlled things still work.
I'm aware of those ideas, and they're super interesting. And not being an engineer, I haven't personally thought about developing that. However, this is why attending that State of Charge conference has been really, really helpful for me and for Sarah. Is that there are folks who attend that who do that all day long. And so there's someone who I will tell you after this, because I can't remember his name right now or his website. But there's someone whose work you should check out. His business, he's up in Seattle, I believe. And he is contracted by OEMs to do some reverse engineering work and conversion work of all kinds of vehicles, from tractors to boats to cars. And there are software and electrical engineers, and that is their focus. So you might be really inspired by the work that they do. And they actually gave a really detailed talk on their work at that conference in July. But I'll follow up with you after. Actually, I just remembered Matt Bergman, X Consulting. Check him out. Check out his work. And I can put you in touch if you want. If you're curious.
Very good.
Yeah.
Hey, very good. Lauren, speaker here, you get a NBEAA hat. I think you're gonna, it's a great hat. John always finds the square wheels when he goes to square.
It looks like my family is here, so you'll see my little kids. They just got here with the lightning. I'm gonna get my keys.
Okay, so should we?
We're gonna go out there and look at her car. Yeah, so we'll leave the online open if you think of something, but I'm not gonna bother dragging the owl over there. It's just practically impossible, so.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you.
If you think of something, just raise your hand and we'll try to address it. Otherwise, the online portion has kind of come to an end. We'll turn off the thing at 11:40 or so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You'd be relaxed.